নমস্কার, আমি রাইমা সেন আর আপনারা দেখছেন নিউজ টুডে।
Into the role of women, the upper class women to be sure, maybe not the middle and lower middle class women, but even what we so often dismiss as the harem, or the Zanana area where the women were just, in our minds very often, just cattle or just being used and exploited and had no agency of their own. Even there you find a reading of that environment which is very different, which makes you understand that it could be a place of empowerment, it could be a place of fulfillment also, because these women had a space to be free between amongst themselves. So these are some of the things, I think, Saira, which when somebody reads a book like this, it opens history up. It makes history somehow come alive in a way where you relate to it human being to human being. Maybe that's one of the nicest things about it.
Agree. I think that was a wonderful insight, considering that she's an erudite author herself. Now coming to you, to Mr. Ashok Viswanathan, you've done Shakespeare and you've also done modern theatre. Do you think that when we play these historical or mythical characters on celluloid, whether they are a part of plays or movies, do you think it generates the public's interest in looking up history and perhaps getting a new, fresh perspective? Do you think films help in generating interest in historical characters?
Well, I think that's a very interesting question. But I would say even before going into the world of film or theatre, the very fact that a book called Anarkali has been written would be enough provocation to look it up, And I think the book is extremely well written, firstly. Let me congratulate Sumant for that. What do I mean by that now? This is a very general statement, like the word interesting. Whenever you ask someone how was the book, they say interesting. It's one of the most insipid words in the English language. But this book is really well written, first of all, because of the detail which Anjum already mentioned. I'm not wrong. It reminds me of a completely different text from a different culture, that is the Kama Sutra. If you read the Kama Sutra, there too, there is a distinct classification of the different talents that you need to have, you see. This is the first thing, the detailing. The second is, again, in line with the question that Sarah asked, is very, very important. That is, that this is on the lines of great historical fiction, and I'm sticking my neck out and saying that it could be compared with a book like The Enchantress of Florence. I think so, definitely. And Salman Rushdie, undoubtedly one of the greatest writers of all time in this world, can be an inspiration. I just saw a film the other day called The Three Musketeers, a reworking of it. There again, it's Alexandre Dumas who uses history to fuel his fiction. So the greatness about this novel is, first, its detailing, its dovetailing of history and fiction, and thirdly, leaving that little space for the reader to conjecture. As Saira said so rightly, is it history? Is it true? Or is it mythology? Is it myth? It is, in a sense, some of the things that happened may have become the stuff that legends are made of. Again, Shakespeare, that famous line from the Maltese Falcon, when Humphrey Bogart holds it up and says, this is the stuff that dreams are made of. Very, very well written book again. This is being drawn, people are being drawn to this because they could identify with the characters. because they can feel the characters, see those characters. Definitely very good material for a film, which would be far different from K.R.'s Mohale-Azam because of the prelude, because of the framing device that is used, because of the significant role that Jahanama plays in this particular text. The following of the journey, moving from one person to the other, holding hands as it were. Gradually you move from Jahanama to Shahanshah Akbar and then to Salim and Jahangir.
Okay, this timeline is not actually matching, so that there is something wrong with that timeline. So I think that kind of work was needed. But otherwise, since he's a published author, he's written, he's lived in literature, has read a lot.
Is a subject that has intrigued people for over 400 years, and yet not even a single literature exists on her. Whatever literature that has been written from that period where she is mentioned is all about that love story with Salim, or where that confrontation with Akbar happens. But there's nothing at all on her on a standalone basis. And I therefore thought, after having researched, that she is one character from history, one legend from history, who definitely deserves a book that will give her an identity, a life, parents, a name, an existence, and most importantly, a closure and a life beyond that tragic love story that she has come to be identified with.